Scene. Hello, witches, and welcome back to Activist Twitch, where we discuss witchcraft and activism. You can call me Isha, my pronouns are she, they, and today here with me, there's Imogen from Sapling Tarot.
Hello.
Today we're going to do something slightly different from the usual, not only because I have Imogen, but also because we're getting to holiday Yule season. People buy stuff during this time of the year for some reason. We have all collectively silently agreed that it's when we buy stuff for each other. So Imogen and I are going to drive you through our ideas of what is a cool gift for somebody tarot/witch inclined.
But before we get started, let me remind you that I've opened a Ko-fi, and on there you can do a one-off donation, a monthly donation, or even get a tarot reading with me, Italian style. The low-income option starts at £5. And for the foreseeable future, all my profits from tarot readings go directly to support Coaches to Gaza, who are part of the mutual aid groups that supports Palestinian people evacuate and relocate to Egypt. So if you decide to support me there, thank you so very much. Also, don't forget, we are in phase 2 of Witches for Palestine. If you want more information about that and how to participate, check the links down in the description below.
Both Imogen and I are pretty much, as you know, here on YouTube into witchy and tarot thingies. And actually, it might be worth, Imogen, in case for some unfathomable reason, people are here and don't know you, and I command everyone to immediately then click and then come back, but to go and check out your channel. But what do you do here on YouTube, or in general?
Oh, well, I can answer about in YouTube. I don't know about in general, but on YouTube I do mostly tarot videos. They're quite light and fluffy, just looking at pretty things together. Occasionally I dip my toe into doing what you do and do like a sort of more like video essay thing. You've been my guinea pig in my new my new series about tarot and neurodivergence, which I'm really excited about. You were my first interview and I now have more lined up and I'm very excited, and it's very cool getting to talk to people about these things. Yeah, so that's what I do over on my little channel.
You're also an awesome tarot reader, which I do recommend. Like it's just simply the level of professionalism that Imogen has in a reading that they do for you. It's eons ahead of anything that I've ever put together. So I do sincerely recommend. You have my endorsement.
Oh, thank you. Isha approved tarot readings.
Oh yeah. Like if there's such a thing, you have it.
Okay.
I'll put all your links down in the description below, so if people want to check out your channel, your website, your readings, all the options and amazing things that you do and educate people with, they're going to find you there. That being said, the truth is that Imogen and I have very luckily found each other through YouTube, and now we just like to spend time talking together. Yeah. So it's just something we do. This time around, I was like, hey, I know that we have fixed up our chat, but also I am short on videos and I would really like to have an excuse to bring you to my channel like I was on yours. So I was like, I had this idea about like witchy, gifty thingies, because again, people for some reason want to throw money away during December. So hey, go on, why not? And Imogen is much better prepared than me, I think. You have plans, you have things. I have vague notes. Originally, the idea was, I'm going to bring 5 things. And then I was like, well, is there a criteria to these 5 things? And then it became, okay, what do we like as tarot-y and witchy people? So I was like, oh, well, there's going to be books. There's going to be decks. There's going to be indie stuff made by witches that I like on Etsy. And then, because I'm a broke witch, there's a couple of ideas of things that you can do yourself, handmade stuff. That's my thing. Do you have a criteria idea, or is it just stuff that is really cool?
Well, in October, I did write a big kind of newslettery list of small businesses that I really recommend, which I will give you the link to maybe put below. And so all of those I recommend. I also had every intention of today, as we're filming this, having my own witchy gift guide go up. But I will have that up hopefully by the end of the week. So there are all of those things in the newsletter were all small businesses. The gift guide that I've put together for my channel is also small businesses. And so today I've got things that are not necessarily small businesses, but that are like interesting and different, and hopefully the witchy people in your life don't have them already, or if they do, they wouldn't mind a duplicate. So that's
okay.
the things I've got.
You got me there. You go first. Let me know something, because you think that they can be duplicates and it's still
Okay, well, I'm going to start off with the weirdest one, because that is, people are going to be super interested from this one onwards. It's a bit of an odd one. Witches love jars. This is my UPG and verified personal gnosis, but anecdotally, I would say that witches love jars. We love jars. I have a shelf full of various different jam jars and whatever. So, like, good jars, reusable, washable jars that we can put shit in, trinkets, dried things. I've got a little honey jar of, like, rose heads and stuff. I've got, like, little bowls of sea glass and stuff. Nice containers. It's a bit of a niche thing. But I truly don't believe that we can have too many of them. And so I think that even if they have a million jars, if you found them a nice one, one that's like particularly like easy to clean, because you can use them, particularly if they're like tempered glass, you can use them for candles, use them for storing things. And like, what a weird but wonderful and delightful present to give someone that is just like, I see you doing witchy things and I accept you and I offer you this jar.
It is absolutely genius. It is, yes, I can confirm. Not only it's something that a witch cannot have enough of. I think I saw a meme like a year or something ago that you want to find your local witch, put out a box saying, all jars free, must go today.
Excellent. That would be a witch trap.
And witches will flock. And honestly, I can see it work.
My emotional support
the
jars.
times that I walk, yes, it is concerningly accurate. That's very true. Something that might go along vaguely, like it's still a concept of container, and it was part of my handmade stuff. It's mostly handmade, but there is the container to get, and it's both to make like homemade black salt or to make a witch's bauble.
Oh, that's
and
so cute.
the empty witch's bauble, which you can do like for protection, and it's basically a jar spell. But you get them very easily at the works for very, very little money. For those who don't know and are not in the UK, it's what is the works? It's a arts and craft store that is very affordable.
Yeah, it's like a bargain budget shop.
Yeah. They have the empty baubles, especially at this time of the year, because they expect you to do, I guess, Christmas baubles. But here's the trick: you do the witches one. We fool them. And they also have the small. I don't have an actual one here, but I have the one from Vesta. They have these basically, these little.
Oh yeah.
Flute jars. I don't know the names of these, but these. And these are great containers if you like make homemade black salt. And homemade black salt is salt, and that is actually an even better size, in fairness, because in stuff like black salt and stuff like that, you don't need much at all.
Good little spell jars as well, like just like little ones. You can seal the top with a bit of wax or something in there. That's delightful.
Exactly that. And to make witch's salt is super. Like you have the coarse salt, or even fine, that you would use to cook, and you don't even need to actually. You can buy charcoal by all means. But if not, you save enough incense ashes, and that's those two together, which is sold protection. Oh yeah, and it's not only it's handmade, it's recycling technically, and it's low budget. So the broke witch in me was partial to all of those things. What can I say? Like, I'm suggesting gifts that I know I can make to people.
But like, truly, what is more thoughtful than like a homemade protection charm?
Exactly, because you're preparing it and giving protection to someone else. You put your intention in that. And I do feel that when you have that intention put on something for protection for someone else, it stacks.
If we're talking about containers, then this is slightly tangentially relevant. Tarot pouches. So, where it might be a little bit challenging to buy a tarot deck for someone if they're a bit of a tarot deck collector because you don't know what they have, maybe. Tarot pouches, so things to keep tarot decks in. These are all by the lovely Kelly Bear here on YouTube. And I'm a little bit of a fangirl, if I'm honest. I bang on about these at every chance I get. There are other creators that make them. I know that Krista Chronicles makes really gorgeous crochet ones, and Catomancy Tarot makes beautiful silk ones, but there are loads of people who make them. These are really useful because a lot of tarot decks, particularly mass market, more kind of budget ones, come in these really, really obnoxious boxes that are a nightmare to store if you're trying to store all of your tarot decks in one place. They're really bulky, they're a pain in the ass, but then if you don't keep your tarot deck in something, then you know it's a deck of cards, they can just go flying everywhere. So these are really fab because they keep them in one place. I've tried keeping decks in little bags and they've got kind of warped because they don't keep them straight. It was a vintage deck, it was a mistake, I shouldn't have done it. But these keep things really safe. They've got a ribbon on them so that there's nothing to come undone, like if you throw it in your bag, it's not like a magnet or something, like, so you can tie it up, you can keep, I mean, you could use them for anything, but she does different sizes for different sizes of deck, but does like classic sized ones, so I would recommend. She also does beautiful bookmarks and notebook covers and all sorts of stuff, but yeah, something pretty to keep a tarot deck in, I think is really useful if you're not sure about actually buying a tarot deck. Then choosing a tarot deck container, I think, is quite a good present.
Not only I think that tarot itself is sort of the gateway to
it's the gateway to witchcraft.
You get into that, and then, but there are decks that are literally related to general culture that people might be into. I think this year is the first time that I'm gonna give my mother-in-law a deck. I'm gonna get them in reality the Moonology, because I'm like, that seems soft enough, and I'm gonna give them the Moonology along with the journal, basically. So I'm like, so it doesn't feel like you're doing anything magical or occult. You're just inspiring yourself, let's say. But you never know. So the Moonology to me are like soft enough that it's not even tarot. You don't have to think it. It's just, it inspires you to think with all those like nice wording and stuff. And it doesn't have the way of, oh, you're doing tarot, you're doing like...
Oh, no.
Because people have feelings. Like sometimes they come with loaded feelings about tarot without ever having tried it.
Yeah.
So it was like, the Moon Oracle, bizarrely, I've seen around people that officially they would never tell you they practice anything. But sometimes they want the inspiration. And I'm like, yeah, let's give inspiration. What? So that, and I think Yasmin Boland does every year lunar agenda calendar thingy. So I got them together. Exactly. I got them together.
I feel very QVC.
Honestly, like, you're better prepared than me, and I put this stuff in a list. But yeah, that's one thing. But also, the moment that I got it, I realized my mother-in-law had a thing for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. If I wanted to properly get her in, I should have got her the tarot deck of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I know that she would have liked it.
Well, you know, birthdays. Yeah.
Exactly. Next time, that's on the list. If the Moonology does its job right, next time is going to be the Buffy the Vampire Slayer one. And there are honestly so many that I realized that are inspired by general culture. I saw the Sylvie Tarot Magpie has a deck that is not overlapping, but in the same system. Like, you can use it as a DM, as a dungeon master, when you do D&D sessions.
The Eldritch Overlord, it has a 5e compatible thingy in it, like a game module.
Which I don't really know what that means, but I like it.
The Citadel Oracle by Fez Inkwright is like an archetype oracle.
And is it the one that has 6 edges?
Yeah. I love it so much. It's mass market. It's not super expensive. This isn't like the special edition with the red edges, but I would like to edge it in red. But it's got the like the copper accents on it. It's really beautiful. I think this is another sort of good gateway one because it's not very kind of occulty or
It
very
doesn't tell you
spiritual.
officially, but it looks nice and it's
Yeah,
interesting.
but in the book they talk
I
about
can see that.
using it for like tabletop roleplay games. In the guidebook, there's like a whole section about how you would use it for building a location, building a character, in-game fortune
Note to
telling.
self,
Yeah, it's really
don't
good.
show this video to my wife because that's definitely going to be a gift that I need to get them. That's fine.
It's
I
really
know.
good.
Don't look. Go away. Don't look. That's not something for you to know. It's something for you to find out. Possibly at your birthday because I got you too many holiday gifts already.
Oh, it's really...
Thank you for the inspiration
It's a
quite
good one.
directly. It's always honestly amazing to do this kind of video with a nerd like you because anything that I have ideas about, you have specifics
Oh,
about. So
yeah. I'm like leaking on
it's
it.
the way that we naturally complement each other that always works so fucking well. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we share a brain. A totally handmade, weird indie deck from Etsy. It's like in a proper little cardboard box. It is 100% made of like printer, it's not printer paper, but it's like you could print it at home yourself. But it's the most handmade thing. There's like a little spell bag in it.
Oh,
It's so cute. It's like a little zine, like a hand stitched zine as the guidebook. So the creator does do a full tarot deck, but then this is the mages only, and it's gay. And so I bought it, the Sapling Enchantress, and it's it's all types
oh, that's something.
of bodies. It's really gorgeous. Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, really, really lovely.
Yeah.
And so like I would be really impressed if like someone had a deck like this in their collection because it is a wee bit niche. But I think if you have a gay witch in your life, or just someone who loves women, you don't even have to be actually sapphic to appreciate, women's bodies and stuff. But I just think it's really, the imagery is really beautiful.
Oh, nice.
And really powerful. And I just think that it's really cute. And so I think that just like, niche indie decks or like deviating. If they quite like tarot, then you could even sort of give them a bit of a challenge and deviate into another cartomantic system. So this is a Lenormand deck, which if you know how to read tarot, you shouldn't really have any issue reading Lenormand. But I think it can really like build on a tarot practice.
Who is that from? That's so cute.
So this is from one of my favourite illustrators who is from Scotland. She's called Rachel Lou on Etsy.
It's the cat.
Yeah.
The square cat. Tarot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Amazing.
Exactly that one. But yeah, she's only recently come out with the Stargazers Lenormand deck, and it comes with like the cute little pouch, and I think there's like dice in it and stuff because she's kind of created like a game that you can play with it. So even if the person doesn't want to learn a whole new system, you can play with it.
I forgot about this. I technically still had a deck, and no surprises there. It's the Missing Witches.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not a very oracly person. Like I've tried to start to cut down on my oracles because I very rarely use them. But the Missing Witches were very popular in the markets that I've done in person because what I've done is, other than reading tarot, I left the Missing Witches spread on one side saying, hey, if you are intimidated by tarot, worry not. You just pick a card. It's completely free because it also comes with the explanations on the back of these cards. So
gorgeous.
Basically, you have the Missing Witch. You have the explanation of the archetype or characteristic that they bring. And if nothing else, you've learned something amazing about an awesome fam that existed and did amazing things for all of us. So that's also something that actually I should have got my mother-in-law. Honestly, everybody would learn something from this. But I also had that. And very sneakily, I might put the link to my Etsy because I have 5 copies of this. But realistically, I do appreciate that it costs less somewhere else because I'm a small indie business. So we do what we can. But regardless, it's just because the books of the Missing Witches are also amazing. Also, I'm biased because we bonded over them.
Yeah.
But if nothing else, the Oracle, it's there, it's small, and it's self-contained, it's self-sufficient. Like if you don't know a system or like going along, the little books, the card comes with the person on one side, the explanation on the other, self-contained, which is the kind of stuff that I love.
I think that is one of the benefits of Oracle decks. If people are a bit intimidated by learning a system, as it were, like tarot, or the Normand or Kipper or all sorts of things, like I think an Oracle deck being its own little thing and it very much being part of kind of the ritual that you read the card and you read the guidebook and you sit and you take that time for yourself. Like you don't need to be. Okay, so we started briefly talking about books, so I'm gonna grab a stack. So these are all ones that came out this year or very, very late last year. So I was thinking that people might not have them. So I'm going to start with Witchy and then I'm going to go on to 3 tarot books. All of these count as one, just saying. Books is my answer.
Yes.
And the stack of 4 books is...
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So number 1, Witch in Darkness. Only just came out like Halloween this year, 1st of November. I cannot recommend this highly enough. We are
fangirls of Kellyanne.
It's fully,
it, but
one of our wonderful witches for Palestine as well. So good, so valuable. I sent the most embarrassing, like smushy Instagram message after literally just reading the introduction, and I'm just going to claim the cringe of being that person.
No, and also we should make it more normalized that you think something about an amazing person, you tell them.
Yeah, and it's absolutely what I'm like in real life, so I should do it on the internet. Witch in Darkness, what is it? Magic for tough times, bad days, and moments of total catastrophe. It's a beautiful book. All of the chapter images. I even took a picture of it. I think I want to be all of the people. It's really gorgeous.
It's so nicely done, even aesthetically.
Yeah, it's very accessible in terms of Kellyanne writes like she speaks, and that is, you can, if you've ever listened to Kellyanne in videos or whatever, then you can hear her reading it to you as you read it, or you can get the audiobook because she read the audiobook,
which she read.
And it's really valuable. I think it's a good one. I think you could sit down and read it cover to cover, which I pretty much did when it arrived. But that's just who I am. But I think also it's a really good one for dipping in and out of. So a good one to have in your back pocket for if you are in darkness, troubled times or whatever, but also just to kind of dip in and out of as and when you feel like it, or to read cover to cover. There's so many good ideas. It's got her I suppose kind of at this point signature chaos witch sort of flavour to it, which I appreciate because I struggle with anything that ever tells you exactly what to do about things, like my kind of
this is the right way, that everything else is wrong.
It really kicks in, and I don't get that with anything that Kellyanne does.
No, true.
And so I think that's I don't think that's a challenging present. I think if you know someone well enough, I think that's a good book to get people. It's like a first aid kit, a magical first aid kit. So that's your Witchy book. And then we're on to the tarot, and these are all a bit activist witch, if I'm honest. We've got Tarot for the Hard Work by Maria Minnis, who is just such a babe. I mean, all of these people are absolute babes.
Yeah.
But every interaction that I've had with Maria Minnis online, just what a sweetheart. So this is to do with, well, what's the caption is: an archetypal journey to confront racism and inspire collective healing. It goes through just your majors, and it's got, again, it's like, it's really accessibly kind of laid out in terms of, it's not just like walls of text. It is very much like a workbook. I don't think you would necessarily be like, oh no, there is space to like fill it out. I just don't fill out books. I do things in my journal. I don't like actually marking books. I'm just a nerd like that. But yeah, I'd say that this is probably like, I don't know, is this the most accessible of the 3 books? Yeah, I'm going to say this is like the most accessible, but incredibly powerful and important. And yeah, it talks about like balanced and imbalanced and stuff, which I like, rather than it being like the light side and the dark side, or the, you know, light and shadow, or reversed or negative, or any of that. I think imbalance is very much how I read tarot, because I don't really read with reversals. I talk about this on my channel. I'm too bad a shuffler. I throw cards everywhere. Things end up all over the place. Also, if you're reading tarot for someone on the other side of a table, my brain can't work out which way round would be reversed.
Oh god, yeah.
So I read reversals in the sense of, in the context of a spread. If something feels like it's out of balance, then that's when I'll bring in kind of the reversed meaning, as it were. But yeah, I love this book. I think it's really great. I think it's really gorgeous as well, with the black and the rainbow.
Something that a note that I will put on that is that something that, it's one of the, if not the first book that I ever carried on a Coven of Two, which I don't usually do, because it was just like, I literally got in touch with the distributor in the UK saying, and it's quite an investment to do as a small business. I was like, it doesn't matter, I want at least 5 copies of that. And something as a person of color that I can say of that is that there are points about, we need to work on our internalized racism. Like, it's a thing. There are things that, as a person of color that has at times white passing privilege, it was useful to me. Like, don't think that it's just something for allyship. There's something for every flavor and everyone in that.
Well, I mean, when she talks about it being the hard work, I do think that it is very much for everyone, and this kind of idea of collective healing. So even if you have kind of sufficient lived experience to understand on a personal level the weight of global kind of systemic racial injustice and stuff, I think in terms of collective healing, that's something that everyone can benefit from. And honestly, if you can skip bits, then that's great. But like the collective healing is, and you know, then on to the 78 Acts of Liberation, another book I've been kind of banging on about. Another babe, Lane Smith, is on Instagram, Left Lane Smith. And this is one that I've been using as like a companion to my personal readings. So I'll pull a card and then go to, something that both this one and the following book have in common is that they are organised by number, which is so pleasing to me. So like all the 3s are together.
Oh, yeah. I have a feeling that I know what the next book is then.
Yes. But this is for like, you've been reading tarot for a while, and you know, you're interested in activism, you're interested in making a change and kind of making tangible changes in the world around you, and maybe tarot feels a little bit introspective, and you feel like you've done that, and now it's like, and now what? How do I take what I've learned and put it into real world actions? And this is that book. This is, for every card, there are suggestions and acts, and it's really well sourced, and kind of there's lots of references to real kind of projects and acts and things that people have been doing around the world that fit with all 78 cards in not even that kind of horrifically chunky of a book. So what is it? Okay, we've got the bibliography. Love a bibliography. Acknowledgements.
Love bibliography.
So the every kind. 244 pages. It's not, nice. And you know, if you dip into
78 cards, if you split,
exactly. So you know, if you dip into this periodically, I've got my nice little Palestinian fig bookmark in there. But yeah, I mean, really, really valuable. So if you know people that are kind of interested in, to be really dismissive and awful of things that we both hold very, very dear, this kind of stuff, then like, it's a great one. It's a really great one. And then the final one I'll stop rabbiting on about. This is the heavy hitter.
Red Tarot, yes!
This is the biggie. This is the one
Yeah.
that I love with my whole heart, but I wouldn't necessarily be like, this is your like first step into
Yes, I do advise
anything.
to not be the first book on tarot that someone gets.
Not on tarot, and probably not on like decolonizing or the writing.
You need to already be on that pathway.
You need to have some
properly
understanding, I think. Yeah, absolutely. I think the writer, Christopher Marmolejo, their writing is so beautiful, almost to the point of kind of poetic. They're very specific with their language, but that does mean that the language can be a little bit challenging. And so, this is not one that I've been able to read like cover to cover. This one is a little bit more intimidating in terms of the kind of the walls of text. But also, if you just sit and read and also what's staggering to me is that it's a couple of pages on each card. And it's just like, if I was the kind of person who annotated books, this would be just full of everything. I have it on ebook as well, so that I can kind of annotate bits and like copy bits out and stuff. This has been an incredible resource for like when I have done my like tiptoeing into sort of video essay type things. This has been an absolute like cornerstone of jumping off points for research, and it's just really beautiful, and it's a whole way to see the world and to see tarot, and it goes really beautifully with Post-Colonial Astrology by Alice Sparkley Cat, which has been out for a while longer, so if people are interested then they might already have that. But it's really beautiful to have this and that in this kind of decolonizing lens to look at these subjects through that have been very white and very Christian and very stomp, stomp, stomp all over everyone's cultures for quite a long time. And so, really, really valuable.
I think I have them both on the Activist Twitch reading list, but if not, this will remind me to go check and make sure that they are updated on books I had. I just, in reality, I kept it simple because I was like, again, it's both the gateway and how do I lure you in?
Yeah.
And something that I did last year, I did tarot workshops, and the same thing, like the second book that I got for a Coven of Two, on top of Tarot for the Hard Work, was 5 copies of Radical Tarot.
Yes! Knew you were going to bring that one up. Yes.
This was actually damaged, so I decided, you know what, I have to keep it. So I sold the other 4 at the workshop, and every single person that got one that came afterward to tell me, oh my gosh, what have you got me into? And I'm always like, yes, come for the tarot, stay for the intersectional feminism here.
Yes.
And honestly, I love Rachel Pollack. I love 78 Degrees. I love. However, this is pretty much the reference at this point that I use. So if you have a deck and it doesn't come with a little white book, this is my equivalent of reference at this point. Do I have a crush on Charlie Claire Burgess? Probably at this point.
Me too.
Like with this kind of brain, how do we not? How do we not? I'm sorry. Yeah, that might also be a part of the thing. But honestly, it's because they are so clever and they researched this so well. They found stuff because a lot of tarot in its origins come from Italy. The kind of stuff that they found and they talked about, I was like, I'm from Italy and I would have known that. And I can't imagine the kind of stuff that you had to go and research and read that probably wasn't in English because you went to find this stuff. So there's a lot of dedication clearly that has gone into this. And yes.
I'm buzzing for their next book. I'm absolutely buzzing my tits off for their next book. I cannot. It's so good. While we're on the Charlie Claire Burgess train, though. Queerly Devoted.
Queer Acts of Love. Queerly Devoted.
Because that's the name of their Substack as well. But while we're here, I've got my beautiful Kelly Bear pouch with the colours and the ribbon, but I've got...
oh my god, I know already what's coming out of that.
Yeah, the Gay Marseille. If you can get a copy of this for yourself, for your loved one, for your sister, for your cat, get it. It's too good. If you thought that all Marseille decks are ugly, this will change your mind. It is. Yes, I keep it in the pouch and the box. Yes. I like the box, but I like the pouch because Kelly made it in the exact correct colours.
The
Because
color.
Kelly is a genius. But like, look at the lesbian pool party in the moon. You can't think that they are ugly once you've seen this.
The color palette alone.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Honestly.
Frida Kahlo. We love.
I'm honestly salivating on this because I don't have it yet.
It's so great. So
Charlie,
yeah.
should you ever end up on this, we love you. If this wasn't clear.
Oh, I'm sure they couldn't possibly go on Tarot Tube because there are so many fangirls here just talking about Radical Tarot. The Fifth Spirit Tarot, which is their mass market deck, which is also a big favourite around these parts.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, just what a brain. It's inclusive and, radical, as the name might suggest, but it's in no way gatekeepy in terms of you don't have to. It's quite like barrier to entry is very low. Like it could be your first book on tarot, and you could do it. It could be your first book about queerness, and you'd be fine. Yeah. It's very accessible. The language they use, I think, is very carefully thought through. Yeah. It's very well researched, but it's also, accessible in that way.
I have a last thing in reality. No, I have two last things. I was lying. There's another book, and then there's a last thing.
Okay.
If you're here and you want to be an activist witch, this to me should be the mandatory reading.
Oh yeah.
I never stop talking about it. Like if there's, and honestly, whether you're a witch and you want to get a gift for a witch, and maybe they want to, there's always this idea of I want to do something good for the world. How do I start? You start by learning. You don't start by doing. That's my own experience. Like I have started like that. I haven't started by doing. I've started by learning. This is a great point to start because it's much like a lot of the video essays that I do and stuff. We take the context and the excuse of witchcraft and paganism and we look at systemic problems. And this is exactly that. Because if you haven't guessed, the pagan community is incredibly white. And from incredibly white to white supremacist, it's a small step.
Oh, and through the New Age and the crunchy pipeline, we live in a tricky little subsection of the world where you take too many steps in the wrong direction and you end up in some pretty dicey territories. An
essay in this by Emmy Hale, it's called actually, basically it's the ecology to ecofascism pipeline. Yeah. The growing co-influence, the rad trad between paganism and the new right. This essay alone is worth everything. But actually the beautiful thing is that it's split in three parts where it's the experience of people of color in the pagan community and then scholarly essays and then allies and talking about allyship and how you can develop that kind of empathy and sympathy. So whether you have a friend that is a pagan and you would like to get them something, or if you're a witch yourself and would like to, how do I get started on changing the world, which is something that we do these days. That's definitely a good reading. And in the UK, for a moment, I don't know if it's still the case, but in the UK for a moment on Amazon, it was like £3.
Yeah, I got it for £4 from Amazon because I couldn't find it anywhere else.
Exactly.
But,
so it's just like, I don't know what's happening, but get yourself a copy. There's not a Kindle version, which is unusual for me to have a physical copy exactly for that. But it's, even for my dyslexia, it was worth the effort. So whichever direction one goes from, activism to witchcraft or witchcraft to activism, this is an amazing thing to get, because that's where one starts. We learn and then we understand what we can do right.
Yeah, big agree. Because how did we learn about this book, Isha? We learned about it from Spellcraft and Spellwork by YouTube's very own Ari the Oak Witch. Another absolute belter that came out this year. Look at this. It's like 100 pages. The beginner book. Yes, you want to start witching? Make this the first 100 pages you read.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
And this is, honestly. That's where you got hold of Bringing Race to the Table, which you then recommended to me.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
And which was
That's exactly
embarrassing
how it went.
because I'd already read this, but I hadn't looked at the bibliography because I'm a bad nerd. And so I hadn't picked up on that. So I'd been raving about this, and Isha was just like, but did you see? And I was like, no. No, I didn't.
But now you have.
But now I have. And now I have Bringing Race to the Table. And also, while I was getting this off my bookshelf, I also wanted to shout out this one, which is so cute. Disabled Witchcraft.
I want it, I need it.
By Candy Zeller. 90 Rituals for Limited Spoon Practitioners. If you know an aspiring witch, but feels like they don't have the energy or the time even to do all of the pretty things that you see on Instagram and here on these here YouTubes, this is really cute. It's like kind of almost pocket-sized. There's a little bit of kind of Wicca influence stuff, so if people have feelings about that, it's worth knowing. But it's just, there's so many cute things. There's tarot stuff, like a ritual for like all of the major arcana, I think.
Ooh.
There's, because inevitably the Venn diagram of disabled witches and broke witches is a circle, there's a lot of what Candy describes as thrifty, scrappy rituals, which I know is near and dear to a lot of our hearts. There's, at the Critical Thinking Witches conference, there's a whole thing about, like, they have a good name for it that I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's like no stuff witchcraft. Like, no, you don't need things for it. It's just your brain.
No budget. Not low budget, no budget.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't need things to do it. Like the 78 Acts for Liberation, this was also made by like a tiny publishing company, which we love to support.
Microcosm, isn't it?
It's so cute, so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, loads and loads of good stuff. I can't tell if that's readable because I'm losing the light. But damn it, Scotland. My last one, I've just been like pulling everything off my table. But yeah, my last one is like cute stationery. Because again, speaking of Venn diagrams, I think that it is known that like jars and...
It is known.
Yeah. Witches love stationery. So I have my first example, which is the most beautiful and isn't actually mine. This belongs to someone I live with. But this is a handmade, hand-bound, and I will link the creator because he still has them, handmade leather journal. So unfortunately not for the vegans. It's, yeah, this green leather. It's got room for a little spell bottle in it. It's got effectively almost like a little wand on it. My equivalent is slightly less sexy and handmade, but is still beautiful. It's a traveller's notebook. If you want to see someone utilising a traveller's notebook for witchcraft, I really would recommend Joanna the Polish Folk Witch. Has some gorgeous videos because she moved to a traveller's notebook this year. I have one of the bigger ones. She has one of the smaller ones. You have like all your little notebooks inside it. I've got my study one. I'm not as pretty as some people. I've got my YouTube and Instagram. I've got all of my like business cards and like kind of scrapbooky stuff in the back.
Organized.
But yeah, all of that good stuff. And then just like while I'm on stationery, I wanted to show you this.
Is it ink?
It is ink. It's not got Deadly Nightshade in it, but it is ink, and it's we lost the light, but it's like purple with a green sheen, and it's got
pigeon. It's pigeon colour.
It is. It's like warm pigeon, but also the things inside it that shake it up to get the shimmery, sheeny parts. They're tiny skulls. I wish I could show you. I'll like send you a picture of it, but like they're tiny little skulls floating in there, and so when you open it up and you look inside, there's just like little faces peering up at you. It's so weird.
Who thought about that? That's genius.
I don't know. They're fucking oddballs over at Cult Pens. I love them so much. I have been sort of accidentally collecting their Deadly Sins sheeny ink range. I have Wrath, Greed, Envy, and Lust. And they do scented ones. It's a whole thing. I use them with a dip pen so that I don't need to worry about cartridges and gumming up pens, and I can shift them all the time. But yeah, I think also dip pens are a really good present because you can use them for carving into candles. Okay, so that's my good stationery. Jars.
Well, these are our ideas for your holiday season, whether you're a tarot inclined person, whether you are a witchy inclined person, whether you have people like that in your life, or whether you are all these things and also interested a bit in activism, and then you have things that can push you in that direction as well. Thank you so much, Imogen, for spending your afternoon with me
Oh,
and
thank you for
showing me your
having me.
amazing. I knew that getting you for these kind of ideas would have been awesome. You also have a video on your gift advice on your channel, so I'll put the link here if it's out beforehand. If not, there's still the link to your channel so people can go and subscribe so they know when the video comes out. Simple enough, isn't it?
Oh, just thank you for having
Otherwise,
me.
I'll do
This has
that.
been really fun. I do love sharing things, pretty things. It's nice. And particularly when so many of them are from like small businesses and stuff.
Exactly. And you have impeccable taste, if I may say so myself.
From you, that means the world. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. And until the next video, I really hope that we can hex the patriarchy together. Because there's fucking need for it.